back again with season 2 of Improving Your Mental Health. I'm your host, Joseph Vivaldi. If you remember anything about this podcast, we did a few episodes during pretty much the middle or before, a little in the middle and a little bit before during the pandemic. So it was a good podcast, and we're back. We have new, fresh material we're gonna unleash, and we're gonna discuss on Wise Mind and also Lion's Roar and Emotional Mind, Radical Acceptance. We have a fully loaded season this year. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. But first, before we do that, I want to, share some books that me and my friend did. Coping with depression, coping with how to cope with depression, how to cope with anxiety, and it briefly discusses a few topics there in the book. It could have, it's a good starter, but we're going to have more coming later. And I had even the book, How to Cope with Artificial Intelligence. Reason why is we have a lot of stress with that, and it would be good to go over that. And I asked artificial intelligence their take, and I was the one basically stirring the ship and asking questions, so it's a good take. So without further ado, here's the podcast. Wise Mind. For those who are listening, what is Wise Mind? Wise Mind is that state in between rational mind, logical mind, and it's the facts and stuff like that, and your emotional mind. Now, the emotional mind, what is the emotional mind? That's what a counselor I know would call the lizard brain. That means it's your emotional, your uproar, your acting. You're not even logically thinking. You're not even in wise mind, and it's like a balancing act, which is wise mind. But I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, you're all over the place. But what is wise mind? That is the state where you're right in between. And how do we achieve it? That's a fully loaded question. It's like first you have to, and this is notes from a group I was in. It's like, you have the what skills, the observing, the describing, the participating, and then you have the how skills, the non-judgmental, one mindfully, effectively, and it's kind of like with DBT, and it's CBT and stuff like that. But let's just say wise mind is that state in between. It gets you to prospectively look at things from that version in that state. Um, I have. I gotta look at my paperwork, but yeah, it's that state. It's that what. It's that what and that how and stuff like that. So it's like I have a paper right here. If you're hearing the critical, that's the paper. You know, this is what it is. It's a state of mindfulness. It's like you breathe in, you breathe out, you use your imagination, you use your visualization, and you're right there. How does that play a role? I'm going to tell you a story. This is before I did my work and my self work and stuff like that. And I was starting to go there for work. But I was in a car. Everything was all panicked and everything else. I was all panicked. I was in a frenzy. Everything was all over the place and stuff like that. I was all over the place. But then I put on the Calm app. Calm app teaches you to breathe in the moment and center yourself. That's what I did. Breathing. What does that do? Calms your mind, calms your body. And you could function on doing whatever you were doing. See, at times, I get in my lizard brain, which is the emotional brain, emotional mind. When I'm in there, it's like I'm not doing good. I'm all over the place. I'm not focused. I'm agitated and stuff like that. So centering myself helps me do that. It's like right now I can be upset that my dad is playing something in the background upstairs and the volume of that is interfering on the podcast, or I can accept it. And I'm going to discuss that with radical acceptance. But it's like I can get upset. And sometimes they may need you. They may need you. They may need you. You yanked here, you yanked here, you yanked there, and everything else. So how do you center that mind? So I'm discussing a little bit about that in the season, and I'm gonna pause right now for commercial break. I'm back. I'm gonna try to do this. I'm trying to tune out the background sound because it is distracting, and I apologize, but I can't stop that background sound unless I ask, and that's gonna be a fiasco in itself. It's just handling the stress of a situation. You want things to go right in a podcast, and that's how it is. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to. It's just my dad's hard of hearing. So whenever he plays something, he blasts it, and it interferes in everything else. And still, I'm down in the basement with the door closed, and you could hear that from here. I don't know it could detect it, but that's what it is. Uh, I'm going to discuss a little bit of wise mind, and I'm going to discuss why is developing a wise mind crucial. And this is ChatGPT AI perspective on it. Balancing emotions and logic. In challenging situations, a wise mind helps you to cope with emotional triggers while arriving at reasonable decisions. Objective perspective. It allows you to analyze situation from a balanced viewpoint, leading to clarity and effective problem solving. Root causes and solutions. By tapping into your wise mind, you understand underlying issues and find effective solutions. So when you stand at life's crossroads, torn between heart and mind, remember that your wise mind awaits, steady inner compass to guide you toward, 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 toward. Yeah, that's the saying. Um, I'm gonna discuss this in the next podcast because I'm gonna discuss the butterfly effect, and that's gonna be a fully loaded topic, and it'll be a good one because what happens if you do something in the moment, which you may not even see the big picture, but it causes a ripple effect in a good direction. Or what happens if you do something in a ripple effect and it's in the negative perspective. So it's like you look at things with a wise mind and it helps you analyze the outcome in the moment. And you might say, hey, I'm going to do this differently. And that's how you do it. So it's wise mind. So it's the butterfly effect. It's going to be a good loaded topic for another podcast. So, and then I'll discuss other topics for another day. So, have a good day. I'm going to keep these podcasts about 15 minutes short. So, again, check out our book. Oh, me and my friend did this book. Me and my friend Tom did a book. How to cope with anxiety and how to cope with depression. And hold on one second. Let me pause it. My dad wants to ask something. My dad was just my dad basically told me that Christopher Columbus had a Jewish background. That's what he said. I'm not sure if that I understand. I have to check my sources to understand that, but I don't know. But I'm gonna do commercials. So how to cope with anxiety and how to cope with depression. And books that I did with Tom, they're available. Just look up Joseph Vivaldi. You should see some books there. And